Primordial Radio.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Primordial YouTube channel. My name is Pete Bailey, and hugely excited for what we got lined up for you today. Extended conversation with NIK NOCTURNAL. Now, if you're here on YouTube and you're into metal, it's very likely you're already aware of who Nick is. His channel has absolutely exploded over the past few years. He's been killing it. We talk all about that. Reaction videos, TikTok, content creation in 2022, and his musical project with Terminator and NIK NOCTURNAL. So we'll waste no time and get straight into it. But if you enjoy this interview, you could do us a solid and hit the subscribe button. Every single subscriber we get helps us build the channel and bring you more cool stuff like this. Cheers. Oh, Nick, you know what's nice is having two identical microphones for recording. I'm so often used to bands speaking to me through a fucking potato half the time.
That's how it rolls, man. It's usually the potato, yeah.
NIK NOCTURNAL, dude, it is great to meet you. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's great to have you here. Honestly, as we were just saying before you came on, that I've seen a lot of your videos on YouTube and kind of bumped a lot into a lot of your stuff over the years, and kind of felt myself kind of going, yeah, this is like the friend. This is like my metal friend I never had. Well, I have friends who are into metal, but like, you know what I mean? It's like, this is I feel like me and you would like kind of get on.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's even when I make my, like, I didn't grow up having a lot of metal friends. Like in high school, I had a few, but like, it's like, I don't know where I live. Like, and to be fair, I'm also not very in the Toronto scene. There's metalheads around here for sure, but like, yeah, it's just like when I was growing up, there wasn't many like super fucking crazy metalheads that I knew. So I was just like, you know, well, I'm kind of doing this on my own here, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we have a saying is here on the station that you know, there's always one metalhead in the village.
That's probably very true.
yeah, and I think there's always that sort of vibe. I think that's kind of probably why your videos have been so successful over the years, is because it is sort of you having that conversation. To me, you're doing almost like a radio thing. So like in radio, there's this old school idea of your audience is always one, not millions of people. So the idea being that you are speaking to like in radio, the idea is like you speak to one person. So like when I'm on air, the idea is I'm speaking to an individual, whether it's in their car or whether that they're at work. Yes, I technically am speaking to lots of people at the same time, but in actuality, I'm having like a one-to-one conversation. And I kind of feel like you do the same on your YouTube videos, that in many ways you do sort of have like a one-to-one conversation, albeit to just lots of different people in various ways.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say, especially the YouTube side, just because it's like, it makes more sense. It's weirder if I start to think, oh, there's a lot of people here, or, you know, that however many views it'll get. Like, it's just like, that's weird to me. On Twitch, I feel like it's a little easier to be like, because people are there and you're like, that's like literally even that, like I'm talking to the people who are talking to me. So it's like I'm having more of a group conversation. But even that, it's not like, you know, there's 50,000 people in the Twitch chat that right there hanging out. So it's like, yeah, I guess that is kind of more of the mindset. It makes it a lot more laxed and chill and just easy to just talk, I guess.
Yeah. So you started your channel in 2014, and to my knowledge, you started just kind of like riffing like jams and covers on guitar before getting into reactions, right?
Oh, reactions came way later. Yeah, that was like a lot. It's just funny because a lot of people that watch my channel don't even know I play guitar, which is like, it's always fun. And they don't even know I'm in a project or I write music in any capacity. So I'll always get some little comments here and there like, hey, you fucking poser, you know, why don't you actually go write something or play an instrument? I'm like, thank you. Yeah, no, I started weirdly enough on SoundCloud a long time back, and my SoundCloud channel I think is still up. I just haven't revisited it in the longest time because I want to release original music. That was before covers or anything. I just liked writing music, and I was terrible at it, and I still kind of am. But you know, I was much worse back then. And I saw some people, you know, that I was watching YouTube, like Killer Buckeye and Finn Maxwell, and then who were doing covers and original music, which was really cool. And then just some like instrumental artists like Shades of Black, Sithue, Angel Vivaldi, and I was like, this is super cool. Like, I guess I should maybe try this on YouTube. So I kind of started. I don't know my technical first upload, but the intent was, hey, here's original music, but I'm going to help maybe get it out there by doing covers, because I was already just learning songs. Like, that's what I love to do. I just love to learn songs. So I was like, well, why not just fucking put it on the internet? And then I became, just actually ended up liking doing covers and then like doing YouTube and expanded to different content and like reactions. Like, I don't remember my first reaction timeline. I remember which
which one
song
was
it was.
what was the first song
It
you
was
reacted
it
to?
was Alex Kohler, who used to be in Chelsea Grin.
Yeah.
His project Grudges, which was like his weird trap side thing. I'm trying to see the day it was released. 4 years ago. So 4 years ago is when my first reaction started. So that was only in like 2018.
Well, in the grand scheme of things, that's not actually that long ago, really, isn't it? Given
Yeah.
your channel started in 2014, so it's been like the reaction stuff has probably felt, particularly given the last few years as well. That's probably felt like a right whirlwind, essentially, of just fuck, like, oh shit, this is blowing up.
Well, yeah, because I initially started doing them because it was like, well, there's songs or bands that like I know probably won't have much guitar in them, but I'm interested to check out the band still and like share it with my community. And that was the perfect start because I was like, well, this is Alex's like trap metal thing, which intrigued me. But I was like, not gonna be any guitar to cover probably. So I did a reaction to it, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And then people really liked the reaction, and I was like, why? You should not. And then that was kind of my thing, was basically anything that I thought was not going to really have a lot of guitar. I was just like, okay, well, I'll do a reaction instead. And then the stuff that would have guitar, that I'm more excited to probably do a guitar cover for. And again, this is all speculative. It's tough. There's some songs that had a lot of guitar that I thought wouldn't. And I was like, fuck, I kind of wish I did a guitar cover for that instead. But yeah, just that's how it started. And then people just started to really like the reactions, and they took like 1/10 of the time. And I like doing them, especially as I got comfortable with doing them and how I was doing them, and not doing them as much as, oh, well, here's a reaction for the sake of it, but here's like me just talking about a song. It's more of like the discussion commentary instead of, I consider it really just like, here's a reaction video, which is even why I started
I think
titling
that
it
is
differently.
the evolution of reaction videos is quite interesting, and it's funny because you say it's like 4 years ago, like prior to like reaction videos being like a big thing for metal. My memory of them was being like kids react to, grandma reacts to.
Oh,
like,
reactions have been. That's the thing. The metal scene. By the way, metal scene. You did not create this shit.
yeah,
First of
yeah,
all,
yeah,
it's if
yeah.
anything, it started way back with PewDiePie doing playthroughs and indirectly doing reactions to playing games, like doing playthroughs of horror games, and
Yeah.
you seeing his reactions. That's what really kind of started this stuff. And then then it was much more adapted into the mainstream. And the metal scene kind of came way later.
Way late to the party, but
Yeah,
it's
way
definitely
later.
it's definitely caught up now. I think it's interesting what you said there about sort of having the conversation about. Because one thing I wondered is like in terms of a reaction, is it difficult to like consistently do that? Now I wouldn't ever like accuse you of anyone else, but like trying to like sort of manufacture a reaction like every time and be like, okay, here we go, I've got to do this ridiculous thing, and if I act in a silly way here, that'll blow up on TikTok. But
Right.
like, is it difficult then to try and sort of I guess align that with being authentic at the same time, I guess?
I think it used to be to when some point when I like, when I start figuring things out and start seeing the response, and then me questioning like, well, why does this do well? But then also, why do I do this?
Yeah.
And I realized after a little bit of doing it, it was like, oh, like me just having fun and enjoying it and having the relatability of that is the easiest thing that people connect with anyways. So like I don't need to go over the top just for going over the top, because people won't connect with that as much as me just naturally seeing a breakdown and like just caveman mode, initiated, and I just kind of go crazy. So that's something I started to realize a few years back with my content, like with everything around, even like covers, or even like, weirdly enough, my skit videos, which the point of that is to get in character and kind of amp things up and have fun with it. But started to realize the more I was kind of just myself, the easier it was to connect with people, and the better those videos would do anyways, because people could see more of themselves in that, instead of me trying to be over the top, or me trying to play a character, or just trying to figure out what I'm doing in this space, which was, you go to videos 4 years back, like I'm awkward as fuck. Like I'm like super awkward, no idea what I'm doing. I'm just trying to figure things out. I'm not sure what I should do, what people maybe think I should do. And then the past couple of years, I've just been like, I don't care. This is it. Like I that's why I also only react to stuff that like I'm excited about, like nowadays. So there's so much music, especially. So I'm like, even this week, it's like Architects came out. I'm excited to check out new Architects. I don't really.
Architects, Parkway, what else? I mean,
Exactly.
I haven't had a chance to listen to the new Architects yet, but I heard they do Parkway, like metalcore, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, kind of got its panties in a twist.
Well, that's because the bands aren't doing. I mean, they're just not. They're not trying to appease the metalcore audience anymore, and that's the thing. As soon as I feel like I watched that first video and I accepted that, I was like, oh, okay, this is festival core. Like this is for big festivals and like
I like that
the Euro crowd.
Yeah,
and it's awesome for that. So I was like, oh, okay, this is good for that. This is, but like if you're in the mind of like, oh, they're still trying to do Horizons 2.0, like, well, yeah, like it's not that. You know what I mean?
No,
So.
it's definitely not that. And I think it's like the parallels between sort of the way which you've grown your channel, the way which a band evolves over time, are definitely there. You know, I saw a great video actually from the Punk Rock MBA who was talking about bands writing with TikTok in mind. So I was kind of like asking you there, like, oh, do you make reactions with silliness or being over the top in mind? It's and so I wonder now, like, if bands, you know, through reaction videos, they see people reacting to their music in a certain way. They go, right, well, if we just do that like 10 times more, then our next song will be like even bigger. So it's kind of like it keeps sort of going down the a bit of a trap, I guess, almost.
It is very hard to manufacture virality, like in a lab. You can do it, and you can.
Yeah.
And you can get closer to it by understanding guidelines and then keeping yourself within content within the guidelines, so there's more opportunities for virality. And that's something maybe I'll again, like, hey, new deathcore crazy song probably comes out and people are losing their shit before I check it out. I'm like, all right, well, this will probably do good on these things, right? But I'm not going in there going like, I gotta go crazy and overreact. I'm just like, all right, well, I'm gonna just do my thing. You know,
I mean, I think the greatest example, again, I wouldn't say that they've Lorna Shore have made music for virality, but but it is made for virality in its way. I don't know. I don't think that the band have done that with it all in mind. But you hear those growls, and I think your reaction was like, "That's not human."
Yeah,
you know.
Well, yeah, even
and it's like, it is like you listen to it, you go, that's just ridiculous. Like, and it does have that virality to it.
Well, even that's the thing. I want to react to that song, to the Hellfire, because I thought it was just hype because the last vocalist got left. And then and I actually wanted to react to their stuff because it was already doing pretty well. And literally, as I was about to react to one of the songs off the last album, the vocalist left. And that's when I was like, oh, well, I don't want to do this now. And then they got a new vocalist, and I was like, oh, okay, well, here's an opportunity to react to this stuff because it's like, it's good. Like, I like the stuff they were releasing, right? And it just so happened that was the song where, you know, Will does his snarl, the, you know, little crazy thing, which was like a viral moment. I was like, oh, okay. And, you know, I reacted to that. I knew it was cool, but I didn't really think anyone would care. And that's the thing, even on YouTube, like my video was doing like, you know, I was like, it wasn't like, oh, now here's 2 million views. Like it was, but then I was basically using TikTok as like my like recycle bin. I didn't really care what I was throwing on there. So I was like, well, let's just throw the parts where the breakdowns happen. Like, why not? And I also could tell because if I go to my retention rate, you see your line of where people start watching and stop watching. And I always see this really funny spike, especially in that song when breakdowns hit and when people want to go watch that part. Yeah. So I was like, all right, let's just throw that on TikTok. And then that got 5 million views on TikTok. And I was like, I don't think that was supposed to happen. Which again, that was just me using recycled material. I didn't even upload the full 1080 video. I just like used like a 720 version of it and just put it on there. Didn't format it for phone or anything. And it just, you know, went viral on TikTok. And I was like, okay. Like, and that's the thing is like, I feel like if I went into that video thinking like there's going to be some crazy breakdown and I'm going to go crazy and it's going to be a TikTok moment, that it would not have translated anywhere near as well as me just watching it as I did, seeing that happened. And that's where I guess I'm lucky and unfortunate, where I'm kind of fucking stupid and I'm kind of super weird, like just naturally, where it's like, that's just, these are the words I come up with. These are the noises I create. Like if I had to think about noises or anything, like I couldn't, there's no way I could come up with those things. Like unless it was just on the spot and I just think what I think. Right. So that's why I was just like, all right, well, I guess just kind of follow my instincts, and when they happen, they happen, and when they don't, who cares, you
Do
know?
do you think newer bands in the scene are kind of looking at what's going around and going like, "Fuck, that's blowing up," or "That's blowing up. We should maybe double down on this and maybe try that out." Like, are you
Yeah.
getting bands sending you stuff where you kind of listen to it, going, "I think that they've made that specifically for this moment."
Oh yeah, I mean, and that's where I'm just like, it's you won't be a better Lorna Shore than Lorna Shore. You won't be a better Architects than Architects, no matter how many times you reuse the Doomsday riff. You just won't. Like it's just
How many blares you have?
yeah, or how many like that's the thing. It's like it's great when bands wear their influences on their sleeves. You know, like that's cool when they transform it into something different and evolve it and add new unique twists to it, or just add a different like instead of just making a new Architects song. What if you did like Architects meets Loathe meets Spirit Box meets I don't know Valjarta? Like that's cool. Like sure, that's different, and sure you'll have influences which will be like, oh yeah, that's kind of Architectsy, that's kind of this. But at least it's this new package, right? Instead of just like, oh, this is just an Architect song. Like I'll go listen to Architects because no one's gonna do it better than them, right? Like what's the point?
Yeah.
So yeah, like I see a lot of bands doing that, and that's understandable, and sometimes trying to manufacture virality, but also I feel like the metal scene isn't as in tune with social media and virality yet. Like some of them are, right? And there's some bands that kick ass. I mean, and some bands that are really good at marketing. I'll give big props always to I Prevail and Our Last Night.
Mm.
They're incredible. They're geniuses. They're geniuses when it comes to marketing and virality and understanding this whole thing better than most YouTubers, to be honest. But most bands do not understand this stuff because this is not being a musician. This is being a content creator.
I still have this conversation with many bands, particularly when I'm at festivals and stuff like that. You chat with bands, and they just want to play. They just want to be on stage, and they just and I get it. I totally get it. I would love for my job as well, just be like, I'm just gonna chat shit on radio and that, and then then that's it. I get paid like a sick wage, just to do that. But no, I got a TikTok and Twitch and all this shit, and I get it. But I kind of feel like I think with the bands now, it's like, unfortunately, you just got to get on board, like, and
also,
and I think but do it in a way that works for you. So like. I tell you, man, like I just had like this great conversation with a guy at a festival who like just started doing TikTok stuff about a couple of months back, and like for the last 6 months, I like sat on the couch like tearing my hair out and like kind of like going like chatting shit with my girlfriend, going like, how the fuck do I do TikTok when it's just like girls dancing and shit and like all this fun? I'm like, I'm fucking a 33-year-old guy.
Right.
Like, I don't belong on this platform. Like, and I was like quite down on myself for a while, but started like playing around with a few things, and then I think the most important thing I found is a point you touched upon earlier. It's like is be you. It's like don't be like what the TikTok vibe is. If that's like dancing, yes, there is that on TikTok.
Yeah.
But it kind of seems like as long as you're you.
Yeah.
And authentic, you can make it work.
Well, I also think a lot of bands and musicians go into these social platforms with like the wrong mindset of, oh, I need this for marketing. No, this is another creative outlet. And if you do a creative outlet well, just like you write good music, it's going to do well. Like that's a completely different mindset that I realized years back of like of all the social media platforms. Like I don't think of, oh well, I'm here, I release something now, I have to post it like everywhere. Actually, funny enough, when I do a new video, the only thing I do is I do an Instagram story. Like I have all my platforms. I could be on TikTok, hey, new video on YouTube. I could be on everything, hey, new video on YouTube. But I don't, because that's not content. That's just me shoving it in people's faces, which I could do with those platforms. And sure, they would help the video out. But then they also deteriorate the overall consistency of content. And that platform seeming like it's a place for content for people watching and not just a place to get, spammed with my shit all the time. And then when the stuff that's really important comes out, then I utilize it of like, hey guys, you like all my content. Now here's this one thing that I really care about that comes out like when Termina drops, right? Like that's when I'm like, now on all the socials I'll actually post. But usually like I don't post my videos anywhere other than where they are. And like even taking Instagram, for example, I used to think of it as, oh, here's this place where I have to just do this to post because everyone's using Instagram or even TikTok. Well, Instagram now, I think of this creative medium of how do I make a funny aesthetic picture? Like this whole, it's a completely, it has nothing to do with music. It has nothing to do with creating videos.
Because that's
it's
what
literally
the platform's about. Is
exactly
nice
it's
imagery
own
and things that can
creative
make
space, creative outlet where I can do that, like mess with that part of my brain that I'm not utilizing in all these other things. So I'm like, oh, this is cool. This is supposed to be a different type of content. As soon as I started thinking of it as a different type of content, I actually got excited doing them instead of just, oh, well, here's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And then Facebook too, I here and there, I sometimes thought of as different content. Sometimes I just copy paste what I do on Instagram.
Yeah, with like Facebook's so weird. Like, do you? I must admit, I don't really see your posts on Facebook. Like, do you do?
I used to do Facebook versions of my YouTube videos, actually,
right?
And like squared and like the specific formats, and they would do okay and they would do great, but it still didn't feel like, I don't know, content. And and some of them worked and some of them didn't. But even that, like Facebook now, that's a tougher one just because like I usually just copy paste Instagram. But then I kind of think of, well, Facebook and Instagram are the same type of content for me, which is fine. It's just two platforms doing the same thing. But even Twitter, a lot of people are just like, well, Twitter is only for updates and posting, which is fine. Again, you're in a band and labels have it set up a specific way and it works and they do whatever, right? But this is a new thing now, which a lot of bands are like, TikTok, I guess, is the biggest one where they're like all like about it. Now we have to do these stupid fucking dances and shit, right? But tying back even to Twitter, it's like I use that as a platform to as a creative outlet to try to tell a joke within one sentence,
or just a statement. I find a lot of the time is the tweets I see from yourself. It will just be like, listen to metal.
Yeah, or just a statement and just like have fun with it. Like I that one it's literally just fun. Like if I think of a stupid idea that's like relatable, I'm like, let's throw it out there. There's nowhere else I'm gonna do that on. Like I can't make one sentence and make a YouTube video. You know, like it's like that's why it's like it's a different creative outlet. And now TikTok in itself too. Again, before I know what I'm doing on it, I'm usually copy pasting what I'm doing on my other platforms because at least it's content. But now TikTok, I'm like, okay, I'm doing this 2000s, taking 2000s classics that I love and screaming over them, which you shouldn't do that because why would you ruin them?
Wait.
I'm doing that.
Do that. I don't think I've seen these videos yet, to be fair. So 2000s classics, like, are we talking metal or are we going like fucking ultimate like shit B-side new metal, like all the way to Uncle Cracker? Like.
So I've done Paramore, Misery Business. I've done Fall Out Boy, Dance Dance. I've done 3 Days Grace. I Hate Everything About You. That one has like 300,000 views, which made me laugh my ass off.
Amazing.
I'm gonna do like Disturb and stuff. So stuff that you wouldn't maybe like. They're kind of metally. Some
I feel like
rock,
Disturb's such an easy target there. With like how many wah-ahs can like
Down with this. Oh, I'm gonna do Down with the Sickness with Screaming. I'm actually doing that tomorrow because they're releasing a song. But like essentially even that, it's like I'm thinking of it as like content. Like, and also I'm like, well, this is a place where I can practice vocals. This is a place that's gonna keep me actually want to do vocals, which I don't have to do on any of my other platforms, right? So like all of the platforms to me are different creative outlets that have different purposes and different things and show different sides, except for the times where I copy paste because I just don't know what else to do maybe. And I try to be consistent. And that's a tough thing too, is blending consistency with creativity. And when you're a band that goes on these platforms and you're like, well, I have to consistently post just so people don't forget it. Like people don't think we're dead, right? Well, you're instantly setting yourself up for an uphill battle if you feel like you have to creating creative posts without actually being creative or having fun with it. You're just posting for the sake of posting. Yeah, that's going to feel like shit every single time. You're like, oh, I gotta do the TikTok, every 3 days, gotta do the post, instead of being like, hey, new opportunity to try something fun and actually create content that's engaging, right? Like, and that's also what starts to blend your different audiences. Like on TikTok, I have people that said, hey, I saw you on TikTok and I checked out your band Terminal. And I'm like, that's weird. Thank you. Like, all right. Like, and vice versa. Like, and then it starts to be this big circle of platforms where people are actually excited to check out the other platforms because they know that a good chunk of the time it's a different type of content. And it's just more exciting. That's more exciting for me. So I know that was a long answer, but
no, it's good. But I swear though, dude, if the best not be another fucking platform coming around like TikTok like in the next like year or two, because like
I think TikTok will reign supreme. It's gonna be TikTok and YouTube, I think, that are gonna top of the tops.
Yeah, and like Twitch has been fascinating as well. We did a lot with Twitch over the pandemic. I still think it's great, but I still kind of feel like there's a large chunk of people that haven't gone to Twitch yet, that are on like TikTok and YouTube. It would be great to get more there, because like I feel like Twitch is like one of the best places to hang out. That kind of always to me feels like the house party sort of.
Yes.
You
Twitch
just
is the
sit down
funnest, but there's the discoverability on there is just, it's not there. Like
you're right, it's not there.
Yeah, you do a Twitch stream, you finish, it's gone. Like, I mean, you have your VOD. No one's gonna search your VOD. No one's gonna find your VOD. Like, even your fans won't even know you had a VOD. Whereas you do a YouTube video, you put it out there, it gets in the algorithm, it gets suggested to people that like similar things. Same thing with TikTok, right? TikTok is fucked how that algorithm works. Like, it's
honestly, I mean, we've said we've only just been doing stuff for a couple of months, but like some of the videos have like 5,000 views, and then others are like 500, and I'm like going, I don't quite fundamentally understand why there's such a big discrepancy. But you're right, that algorithm is like, fuck knows like how they put that together, but it's pretty wild.
And that's another discussion too. It's like when it comes to algorithms, right? Like, algorithms play in part, but a lot of people blame algorithms for why things don't work for them, or why like, oh, I'm not getting views. And they don't understand that the algorithm is extremely sophisticated and based on human behavior. Like, it's usually a video that does really well. It's because people really do enjoy it and do relate to it and do share it around. Like, it's not this like, oh, you did this. Even you might feel like, well, I did this video that took me no effort and then it exploded. Well, that's because that video that took you no effort might have been just more natural and relatable to people than the really high souped up video that you do otherwise, and people just didn't relate to it as well.
But I think you kind of touched on it as well, where you kind of said, if I just take my one piece of content and try and shove it down everyone's throats on all platforms, it's not going to work, because it's like the hard sell, right?
Yeah. And people consume
who wants
differently.
To be sold to? Who wants to be sold to ever?
Exactly. And people consume differently on every single platform. Like, TikTok is a phone platform. You are like, you need to understand that people are taking a shit, or they're at the airport, or they're at work when they're on TikTok, like they're bored. Like, same thing
absolutely.
with Instagram.
So
you need to make content for that format.
So how did you then kind of chime all of this with then going, shit, I've got my own song now, and I need to fucking get it out there and get people to listen to it, because obviously, a lot of bands will take their approaches about like, right, it's time for the press campaign, and we'll do this and we'll do that. So how did you kind of chime that with that when you were sort of getting ready to, I guess, promote your track Industry?
Oh, Industry. Okay, that. So that one I utilized more of Insta, because I was like, well, this is a very aesthetic thing. I have this weird, stupid ass fun look. So like, I utilize that in the sense of making like an aesthetic Insta post of like, hey, I'm NIK NOC, like this trap SoundCloud rapper dude, like, sure. So that was really cool. And then on TikTok, utilizing me screaming more, and being like, oh, you want to hear me scream? Like, sure. Like, here's NIK NOC, right, or something like that. So again, it depends on what you're doing. A good one is Termina, because on Termina, how I utilize TikTok is I went to the breakdown and I reacted to my own song, like in a funny way, which I was obviously reacting to Termina, like my own song. And I just did a stupid face, super over dramatic and exaggerated. That TikTok has 300,000 views right now, and the original song has 118 or something on YouTube. So like, I was just laughing because I'm like, yeah, there you go. If I had a choice, I could have just done new song out now on TikTok, 10,000 views, 20,000 maybe. That's it. Would have got to the audience, but it's not like content. It's just, here is an announcement, which sure, gets people there. They know the song's out, right? Does its job. Or I can create content that makes people want to go check out the song without it feeling like I just shoved it in their face as an ad, right?
Yeah, Matt, you must. How many bands and labels do you have like hitting you up constantly, like wanting to be their like marketing managers at this point?
A few. I mean, a few. I work with a good chunk of the labels now, and they're great. The A&R people I work with are gems of human beings. A lot of them are very about, the content creator style and life, and they understand whitelisting. And I've talked to some A&R, and they're like, Nick, we want to get this to work. Like, trust me, I know the value in this, but the boss upstairs isn't about it, and I'm so sorry. There's nothing I can do other than get fired for trying to make it work for you. And I'm like, dude, totally good. But that's the thing. A lot of people at these labels that work there understand it. But yeah, it's I get hit up a good amount of times, labels, and I'm very upfront with them. I'm like, nowadays, especially starting this year, first of all, like, I react to stuff I'm excited about usually, and stuff that I don't know, but I've heard about, I'll check out on Twitch. Like that's kind of how we like scope out new stuff that maybe gets me and my community into it, is on Twitch, because it's just easier. Whereas like YouTube or reaction video, well, that's just stuff I'm really excited for. But yeah, I get hit up decently frequently, especially by bands and stuff. And I'm just like, if it's creating enough of a punch in the scene, I'll most likely hear about it and I'll want to check it out on Twitch anyways. So like that's the best way, is just make it so you can't be missed. Make yourself undeniable as a band, even if it's small, and people will start paying attention. That's something I learned myself too, and that's something I did with my YouTube channel. Like I'm not a music industry guy. I never was. I didn't know anything about the music industry for so long because I was a content creator. And now the music industry basically came to me
yeah
because they couldn't avoid me anymore, just because I was annoying and everywhere, and reactions and reacting to their bands and doing covers and doing content with their artists. And that it was like, okay, fuck, we got to pay attention to this guy now. That's kind of the same mentality and advice I give bands of like, make it so you're undeniable so people have to come to you, because you're the ones that have something special that people want to talk about. Because you need to remember, people need content. People need things to talk about. If you're doing stuff that people want to talk about and you have the power of the community by your side, even if it's a smaller community, that's way more powerful than just having a big blog share your shit. Because the big blog needs the community. And if you have the power of the community, well, then they need you.
Honestly, man, you fucking preaching to the choir here. So this is exactly how Primordial Radio started, as a radio station with a small community. We crowdfunded. We did 2 crowdfunders. The first one we raised 130,000, and then the second one 150,000 from a community of 1,500 people. Like our community is about sort of 2,000 who are like willing to pay for the radio station, and then like we've got like our sort of wider community like around that. It's just again like the parallels between all of that is amazing. I think what you say there about get the community on your side, work with the community, and then you will make yourself as you say, kind of like hard to ignore, impossible to ignore.
And I'm not saying by spamming everywhere you'll check out my band.
Oh, we did that as well. Like,
I did that too. That's what I'm saying is advice.
I kid you not, and I love all of our members dearly. But in the very early days of the station, we had like members like every time like competitor radio stations would post, like our members would be like, "Fuck you!" Like, check this station out instead. And we're like, maybe that's not the best way to go about it. But it was pretty wild in those early days. How far are you going to take your own music, dude? Because obviously, you clearly, the music industry is coming to you now. You could be in pole position to like, take your band or NIK NOC or, whatever it is you want to do. Like, would you take it and think about doing shows and tours and that kind of thing?
No, not shows and tours. I don't have time. Like I don't have. I'm very fortunate that I can be in the music space and not need to tour. Like in the sense of touring is not this luxurious thing, right? Like I'm very well aware of that. It's hard fucking work. It's a hard grind. You go endless days away from home. You got to find places to shit. You gotta. You do all this to play a set that sometimes you lose money on, and you can't sell merch sometimes, or your van breaks down. Like that's not an easy life. And I have huge respect for people that have that life. And that's why I'm like, I don't need to do that. And I also am not to do that. Like, I don't care about performing. I love writing music. Like Andy loves performing. He lives with that. That's why he's in like 50 bands and they all tour and shit like that.
Yeah.
I don't care to perform, like once in a while, maybe, whatever. But that's not where I get like my like high from. I get my high from writing. So if I don't need to tour, I ain't doing it. Right, that's kind of how I bring it down to. But the image I don't know. I'm that's the thing, is like there's no guidelines of how far you can push it when you're independent, really. Like there's some bands that have done it independently and like they're huge and they do great, and a lot of those bands people shit on sometimes, like our Last Night. I have so much respect for those guys. They're fully independent. They probably make more money than every single metal band in the scene right now.
Yeah.
And they did it, they did it through covers or whatever, but who cares? People are listening to original music because it's good and they're getting followers that way, and they're fully independent, right? So like there's no guidelines of how to be a musician in general, and there's especially no guidelines of how to do this YOLO solo and like where the limit is. of how far you can kind of go. So like I don't have a place I want to take it, like a number or anything like that, but like I just want to push it as far as I can push it. And with all these projects, Termina, with Nick Knock, the project I'm doing with Phil from All That Remains, and obviously in general, just YouTube, Twitch, like these are all spaces that some of them haven't been explored as far, right? Like music YouTube hasn't been or music Twitch hasn't been explored to getting to that mainstream crazy level yet. So like, can it be possible? Maybe, but I ain't gonna know until I try and fail a million times. So like, why not kind of go for it, right?
Exactly, yeah. You mentioned the project with Phil from All That Remains. I actually don't know too much about that, but like one thing, like I hear the name All That Remains, and one thing that amazes me about metalcore is its endurance. Like, I mean, I think, Christ, I was listening to like End of Heartache at like 2003 or whatever, and the metalcore that's out today is different from the metalcore that was coming out back then.
Yeah.
But I kind of find it like quite jaw dropping in a sense, because like previously like metal scenes were a thing and then they died. So like you could look at like thrash metal as a great example of that. Yes, there's thrash metal bands around now, but nowhere near to the height of which like metalcore bands are getting to. Like, are you ever surprised at like how big metalcore bands are still able to keep getting? Because like I'm kind of blown away that like the metalcore structure and sound is still huge in many respects.
Yeah, but I also think that's just because metalcore is more of like this general medium that starts to absorb a lot of these influences from the other genres. That's why it's I'm gonna get flack for this, but I feel like it's one of the more diverse genres, not because metalcore in itself is inherently diverse, but because you can add anything to it and you can still call it metalcore. You can add black metal influences. You can add a deathcore breakdown, which is something very popular nowadays to have a metalcore song and deathcore breakdowns. You can add progressive elements and do proggy metalcore stuff like kind of Era does, and like invent animate to a point. So that's the thing. That's why I think like it's just so it's the right word, is malleable maybe. Like it can just adapt and kind of consume little different other influences so easily, I think, compared then to most genres. Like you do death metal, you got to be death metal. You can maybe do techie death metal. You can do like proggy death metal, but
mellow
like
death, yeah,
like mellow death.
I kind of feel like the mellow death bands get a bit like, Christ, if I was in Soilworker in Flames, I'd be like, fuck it hell, like we did this sound like 15 years before all these metalcore bands.
Yeah, well, I had a whole conversation with Finn McKenty and with Nick Hippa, which was really fun. It just like talked about metalcore, like the origins and where it translated to, and how it started with Converge, and then it started with Converge plus melodic death metal riffs, basically, and then like it's evolved over the years through like getting gent influences, getting electronic influences, getting all like all these different influences that like have adapted to what modern metalcore is. So it's just. That's what I really think it is. That's why I think there's the longevity, because it just adapts way easier than I think most genres can or do. Whereas like prog is obviously the most diverse and crazy genre, but in itself, it's also just the most diverse and crazy genre. Like anything can be prog. That's crazy enough, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. And I kind of feel like this is like how we've kind of ended up with the whole trap metal scene. I mean, like there's some of it. I mean, some of it is just like batshit. But I must admit, like I can't get enough of like City Morgue. City Morgue is so like I just spoke to Jake from Oni about his collaboration with it, and yeah, I like trap metal to me kind of seems like the shackles are kind of off in so many ways. But also where like I feel like in metal, a lot of bands have to be apologists for taking on different influences, right? It's like, oh, well, we're kind of sorry that we took in these influences, where like with the trap metal stuff, it's more like, fuck you, you either like it or fuck off.
Well, also I feel like a lot of bands, and it's tough because when you're starting a band, right? And that's why I just call Termina modern metal. Because like I don't want to be a metal. We want to mess with deathcore. We want to mess with weird. Like we just want to get weird. We don't want to ever have to be like we have to make a metalcore song every time. We just like heavy shit. So it's going to be in some capacity probably heavy, right? But a lot of these newer bands I'm seeing come out are doing like these like genre fluid things, which is cool. Like obviously Bring Me is like the most biggest example nowadays. But even they started as deathcore, so they always get still flack for that. Whereas like these bands now that are starting genre fluid, it's a lot harder to have to pinhole them to like, you have to be this, or you have to be this. And I think that's good, because then they just have the freedom to do whatever they want. But it's riskier in the sense of it's harder to find the perfect audience that maybe will do it, and maybe you'll grow slower because there's not going to be as many people about the variety life. But as you grow, you'll have people that will actually stay there and be down with whatever you do, right? So I like seeing a few of these bands now, like Darko US is a good one where they're deathcore band basically, but then they have like these chill songs, and like it's really cool seeing the diversity. Brand of Sacrifice too, like deathcore. Actually, a lot of deathcore bands are doing the genre fluid thing, which is really funny. That's coming from like the heaviest parts of the scene and then genre fluiding it up. But yeah, I like to see that because you can't pigeonhole them to a specific genre. They can do whatever they want and just have fun, and that's what I like to see a lot more. Whereas bands that start in a specific thing and then they want to try something else, well, you instantly have to be like, are we about to piss off everyone else who's followed us for all the years as us being a metalcore band? Which I feel like that's partially what's happening with
just about it with Parkway, right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Right now, and I guess they're kind of having to go through that, but I don't know. I feel like some bands can transcend that well. And others not so much. I always think it's kind of awkward when a band will try to do the genre fluid thing, doesn't work out, and then it's like the scene from The Simpsons with Mr. Burns, and they go back and it's like, so come crawling back.
Yeah, because it's hard. It's hard to pull off. Like you have to be a multi-genre band. Like that's like it's hard to be good at one genre, and then you have to be not just decent at them all, but like pretty good, because if you just release decent songs, no one's going to care if there are genre fluid songs. Like you got to like make pretty decent songs in all these different genres, or it's just not going to hit and no one's going to fucking care. So it's like, it's riskier and it has a long-term payoff, I think. Again, like Bring Me is the only example that's been doing it for so long. Like it's more of a newer thing that bands are adapting with album one, right? So I don't know how it's going to pay off in like 20 years from now, but
yeah, that's going to be the thing, isn't it? Right, I mean, because we're kind of hitting all the anniversaries of the new metal stuff, where like Hybrid Theory and all that shit's getting like classic now, which is killing my soul. But yeah, it's gonna be pretty weird in like 20 years, where like all the stuff that now is particularly like you look back at track like we'll go, that's a classic trap metal track.
That's gonna be weird.
That's gonna be weird.
Absolutely weird to say.
Yeah, that's gonna be weird as fuck. It's gonna be weird as fuck, dude. This has been such a pleasure. I feel like we could have this conversation at least 10 more times and talk about a whole bunch of other shit. I know you got some other stuff going on, you got other shit to do. I know a lot of new bands probably watch this video. Is there a way for them to like submit music to you? Do you take submissions for any new bands or stuff like that? Any way to get in touch?
I barely can get to enough music that like I'm excited about on YouTube, so like don't just
basically be good
comment
enough
on the reactions if you want, because at least you'll help push engagement. I'm gonna be real though, it ain't gonna happen. Don't like email me if you want, but like it's you just probably won't get a response is all, unless again like just do something cool with your fucking band that makes it stick out and makes it exciting and different and people want to check out. Come by the Twitch stream, that's the best place to get me. Sometimes I'll do like viewer requests like songs. But even that's just where I check out the most amount of music, because it's just the easiest medium to do it through. So Twitch is the best. But
when's your Twitch streams? When are you?
I stream Tuesdays to Saturdays, 5 to 7:30 p.m. EST every one of those 5 days a week.
Cool. Nick, this has been such a pleasure, and I hope we get to do this again, man.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having me, man.
Primordial Radio.